Okay. So guys, the topic of the discussion will be how do we deal with categorical variables in machine learning. Okay. So this may sound like a very easy topic, but again, it is not. Okay. So I'll tell you why it is not. Okay. So let's get started with what we already know. Okay. So we already know that categorical variables, as you know, for example, what are categorical variables? Just to start from the very basics, categorical variables are anything which is non-numeric. Okay, so for example, if you have some data and any of your columns in the data are non-numeric. Okay, so it could be the name of a person or of an entity, for example, the states of India. So if I have to take this data, so you see there are four columns in this data. Okay, the first column you can say it's an identifier. It's just serial number. The second column, if you see, it's a categorical column. Okay, so these are the states of India. Okay, so it's a categorical column which is non-numerical, and the other two columns are, of course, these are numeric. Okay, so when we build machine learning models, there is no issue with the numeric columns, because machine learning models are, after all, mathematical equations, and numbers can easily go into any mathematical equation. Okay, so just to give a little bit of background here. Okay, so when we build supervised learning models, we actually, what we try to do is, we try to find a function, right? We try to find a function which connects the dependent variable with all the independent variables that you have. Okay, we try to find this function. Okay, now the function could be of any form, and including numerical variables in the function. So for example, we might have 2x1 plus 3x2. Okay, so for example, let's say this is your function. Okay, where y is your dependent variable. Now x1 is one numeric independent variable, x2 is another numeric independent variable. So there is no problem at all, because you can have numbers here and you can easily find your y. Okay, so for example, if x1 is 2 and x2 is 5, you could easily calculate y for these two numbers, right? And similarly for other samples of your data also, you can get your y hat, okay, which is your predicted y. So that is no problem at all. Now problems arise when your independent variable is categorical. Okay, when it is categorical, what happens now? Imagine x1 is, let's say, a color. So for example, red, or x2 is, for example, blue. Now if x1 is red and x2 is blue, how do you calculate your predicted variable? So now y hat, you cannot of course write 2 into red plus 3 into blue. So that is a problem. So this is the problem machine learning models have to deal with whenever they encounter a categorical variable or a string variable, you can say. Okay, so what do we know already? So this is the very basic problem that most of us know. Okay, now how do we deal with that? Okay, so what we have already seen is, let's go into a little bit of the definition here. Categorical variables are those that represent a fixed number of possible values rather than a continuous number. Okay, so it could be the states of India, it could be color, it could be anything which has a string value, which doesn't have a numerical value. Okay, and remember, we had also something called ordinal variables. Okay, again, I'm just brushing up your basics a bit. Now, how are categorical variables different from ordinal variables? Now, when we talk about categorical variables, for example, color here, you see there is no order here. So red, blue, there is no order in those colors. Or for example, the states here, there is no order here. Okay, so they differ from ordinary variables in that the distance from one category to another ought to be equal, or there is no order. That's what it is trying to say. Ought to be equal regardless of the number of categories. Okay, so no matter how many categories you have, there is no order within the categories. Okay, as opposed to ordinal variables where there is some intrinsic ordering. Okay, so ordinary variables, they will have some order to the values. So for example, low, medium, high, that's the classic example that we discussed, right? Low, medium, high, there is some order there. Okay, but whenever we have categorical variables, there should not be any order to them. Okay, and ML algorithms want numbers, not strings. Okay, and as their inputs, we know we need some method to code these into to code these categorical variables into numeric. So whatever I just discussed, you need a way to convert these colors, whatever it is, red, blue, green. You need a method to convert these into numbers, because you know that we need numbers because we have to perform this expression, we have to evaluate. So we need these x1 and x2 as numbers, not as string. Okay, now what we know already, now we know the concept of dummy variables. Okay, so let me quickly discuss that. So quickly discussing the concept of dummy variables. Guys, I'm keeping an eye on the chat window in case there is anything you're asking. Okay, no questions yet. Okay. So dummy variables, what did we see? So for example, let me take the example of a data. So let's say I have a column called, let me take this color column. Okay. And let's say I have some price of some entity, and it maybe I have it depends on the color. So let's say I have red, I have blue, and I have green. Okay, and let's say price is 10, 12, and 14. Okay, now let's say this is the data we have. Now how do I convert this categorical column into dummy variables? Okay, so the concept is simple. The number of categories that you have, or the number of levels, as we also call it. So how many levels, what is levels? So levels are the number of unique values in the data. So we have 3 unique values. I call this categories also. Okay, so there are 3 categories within this categorical variable. Okay, so the number of categories that you have, what we do is we create a new column for each category. Okay, so for example, I will write a column color underscore red. Okay, this is a column which will only of course this is a binary column which will be 1 if that entity is red, otherwise it will be 0. So for example, the first record, the first row of our data is red, so this will be 1, and for others it will be 0. Similarly, it will be color underscore blue and color underscore green. Okay, so the first entity is red, so of course it is not blue, it is not green. Second one is blue, so this will be 1 and this will be 1. Now here I have converted it into dummy variables. Okay, now what you will do, you will drop the original column from the data. You will just drop this column, and instead of this column you will have 3 new columns. Okay, so these 3 will be new columns in your data, and of course you will have more records. Accordingly you will fill this. Okay, you will fill this accordingly. Okay, so such an example is shown here. So this is what I have shown here. So dummy variables or one hot encoding. Dummy variable concept is also known as one hot encoding. Okay, so you might have heard of this term and thought what this is. This is actually similar to dummy variables. There is one small difference though, I'll discuss about that. Okay, now what is this dummy variable? So you look at this first column. The first column is categorical column, right? It's the name of a few countries. Now how do we convert that into dummy variables? You see I have how many unique categories do we have, or how many levels do we have in this categorical column? So we have France, we have Spain, we have Germany. Yeah, I think 3 levels we have in this data, right? There are 3 unique values. So we will have 3 unique columns. We will have 3 different columns instead of this one column. So that is why I have column number 0, 1 and 2. 3 is nothing but it is age, and 4 is nothing but it is salary. It is the same column that is here. Okay, but 0, 1 and 2, these are new columns that has been created as part of the dummy variable. Okay, so these are the dummy variables. Okay, now how do we create them? So what we have is, and again how you decide the order. The order is not really important, but how any of the programming languages do it is they do it in alphabetical order. They will create the first column according to the alphabetical order here. So you see F comes first, right? So you will have, this is for France, and then you will have for Germany, and this will be for Spain. Okay, So it does that in alphabetical order. The order is not really important. Even if it was Germany first and then France, it wouldn't matter. The data would remain the same. Okay, so for France, I have 1 here. Okay, and of course, if France is 1, Germany will be 0 and Spain will be 0. Okay, because this record or this person, this is data of different people, their age, their salary, and whether they purchased a commodity or not. Okay, so if this person is from France, I will write 1 for France, and he is not from Germany or Spain, so it will be 0. For the second person, he is from Spain. Okay, so for Spain, I will be writing 1, but it will be 0 for Germany and France. And similarly for others also, you can see. So last one, for example, is again from France. So it is 1 for France and 0 for the other two countries. And similarly, I fill all the rows. Okay, all the observations are filled in that same way. So this is the concept of dummy variables. Now you should not have any problem running a machine learning model, because as we saw, machine learning models are functions, and these can easily be these numerical columns can easily be included in your mathematical functions. You will have no problem multiplying or adding these values in your mathematical function. So whatever your mathematical function is, you can easily, now instead of x1 you will have the column, for example, which represents France, or instead of x2 you will have the column which represents Germany, and similarly you will have something for Spain. You could easily add or multiply those numbers now, because they are numeric now. Okay, so this is the concept of dummy variables that I'm sure everybody knows here. Okay, now what is the difference between dummy variables? As I said, dummy variables and one hot encoding, there is small amount of difference. Okay, so what is that difference? Okay, now you may remember that when we create dummy variables, we generally drop one column. Okay, so if there are n n unique levels in your data, so n is 3 here because we have 3 unique names of countries. So when we create dummy variables, we generally drop one of them. So if there are n unique levels, we will only keep n minus 1. So for example, here we could drop any one of the 3. So let's say we drop Spain. Okay, we drop Spain from the data, so we will have France, we will have Germany, but we won't have Spain. Okay, other two columns obviously we will have. Okay, so we will have one lesser column when we talk about dummy variables. Now why is this? Why do we drop this? We drop this because if you remember, and this is discussed in a lot of our videos, there is something called dummy variable trap. Okay, there is something called dummy variable trap whenever you are dealing with a parametric model. Okay, whenever you deal with a parametric model, when I say parametric model, what is a parametric model? Linear regression, logistic regression, KNN, these are all parametric models. Okay, models which you can say which have a equation. Okay, so linear regression, logistic regression, these are all parametric models. Okay, now these models, they have valid equations. Okay, they have a proper format that they follow. So for example, the linear regression, if you know, this is the expression which linear regression follows, right? Now to solve this equation, okay, this is the equation which we have to solve for values of beta naught and beta 1, for the intercept values and for the slope value. Now to solve this equation, there is a concept of the number of dimensions, or uh, so it becomes very difficult to solve these equations if you don't drop that one column. When you create dummy variables and you don't drop that one column, it becomes impossible to solve these equations. Okay, again, the concept of degrees of freedom come into picture. Okay, which I barely understand myself. Okay, so don't worry about that a lot. The bottom line is that if you have all the 3 columns or all the n dummy variables included in your model, your parametric models will not work. Okay, you will not be able to solve the parametric model, and you will get an error. Okay, so but to avoid that, to avoid the dummy variable trap, what is done is we drop one of the columns. Okay, and there is nothing to lose here. Actually, when we drop this one column, we don't lose any information. Okay, so if you look at this, whenever this takes a value 1, so for example for this observation it is taking the value 1, you see these two are 0. Okay, obviously these two will be 0 at that time, this will be 1. Okay, similarly here or here. Now even if we omit this column, the model can very easily know that it is actually Spain. Okay, actually these two being 0 represents the country Spain. So that is actually taken care when we have the intercept. Whenever we have the intercept of a parametric model, so y hat is equal to beta naught plus beta 1 x 1 plus, this intercept takes care of it. Okay, so whenever you drop one of the column, okay, so for example you dropped Spain here, Spain gets included in the intercept. Okay, so you can know all the information with respect to the country Spain by dealing with just this intercept. So you don't need to have a separate coefficient for that. So that is anyways included in your parametric model. Okay, so that is why we exclude one of the columns. When you don't exclude, the equations become insolvable. Okay, it's called indeterminate equations. Okay, indeterminate set of equations which cannot be solved. Okay, so that is known as dummy variable trap. So to avoid that, we drop one of the columns and then we solve the equations, then the equations become solvable, and then we can evaluate the equation and get the intercept, get the coefficients with respect to each of the dummy variables that we have created, and the coefficient for the column that you have dropped, you get it from the intercept. Okay, so this we already know. Now the difference from dummy variable versus one hot encoding is that in one hot encoding we don't drop it. Okay, we don't drop any of the columns, we take all n columns, and in dummy variables we take n minus 1 columns. That's the only difference between dummy variables and one hot encoding. Now you may ask, when do we use one hot encoding? Now you can use one hot encoding, as I mentioned. The problem of dummy variable trap only happens when we deal with a parametric model. Okay, linear regression, logistic regression, KNN, these are parametric models. So the problem of dummy variables happen only when we deal with parametric models. That means whenever you are using a non-parametric model, you don't need to drop it. Of course, even if you drop it, there would not be any change. Your model will be as good as it is without it. But when you are dealing with non-parametric model, for example, random forest, let's say, or decision trees, or XGB, okay, or all of the advanced models, whenever you deal with them, then it is not mandatory to drop any of the levels, any of the unique categories. You don't have to drop, you can keep all of them. Okay, so that means when we are dealing with non-parametric models, we can use one hot encoding. We need not specifically create the dummy variables. We can just have one hot encoding. But of course it means the same thing. The only difference is you are dropping one column in dummy variables, but when you deal with one hot encoding, you are not dropping any of the columns. So for example, in this data, if you are doing one hot encoding, you can use all the three columns that we have here. Okay, all the three columns 0, 1 and 2 you can use for any of the non-parametric models. But when we deal with parametric models, you may have to drop one of these. Okay, that's the only difference. Okay, I hope I hope you are following, guys. If you have any questions, please ask in the chat. Okay, so what do I have here? Dummy variable one hot encoding is the most common way of converting categorical variables to numeric. Dummy variables means the same as one hot encoding, except that in dummy variables we drop one of the columns. Okay, so after creating the dummy variables, we drop one of the columns, and when we do one hot encoding, we actually don't drop it. Okay, okay, now let me show this with an example. Okay, I have some Python notebooks. I'll show you this with an example. Okay, okay, so this is I'm importing a few libraries and then I'm reading some. Of course I'll show this on a dummy data. Okay, So this is the data that I have, the same data which is shown there. I have the same data. When you look at the type of each column of the data, you see country comes as an object. Okay, so all categorical variables are read as objects in Python. Okay, the data type will be shown as object. This is a floating column, float. Salary is also a float, and purchase is also object. This is the dependent variable. Okay, so we will not worry about this. So this is the independent variable that we have to create dummies for country. Okay, so if you look at the unique levels in the data and the count for each of them, so there are four observations which belong to France, three from Germany, and three from Spain. Okay, how do we create dummies? So pandas dot get dummies. So this is the function that we use. Okay, and you see what happens when as soon as we create the dummy variables, you three columns are created. We have passed only one column here. Okay, which is the country column. Let me show you the entire data instead of just showing the head of it. Okay, so this is the entire data. It has 10 rows and 4 columns. So 10 rows, 10 observations. Now when you create dummy variables for it, you see we have 3 columns now. Why 3 columns? Because we had 3 unique categories or 3 unique levels in the data: France, Germany, and Spain. So when you create dummies, you get 3 columns. Each will be binary. One if that observation is from France, otherwise it will be 0. Okay, so we have discussed this. I'm just showing you this in Python. Okay, this is one hot encoding. If you just add this in your data, this is exactly what is one hot encoding. Okay, but what we generally do if we have to deal with parametric models, we delete one of these columns. Okay, so which one do we delete? You can decide. So there are these arguments available in the function. So for example, drop first is equal to true. So here what it will do, it will drop the first column, the first level it will drop, which is France. Okay, alphabetically whichever comes first. So you see now France is dropped. We don't have France. We have only Germany and Spain. And if you just run this function, it will give you the same name as the levels. So France, Germany, and Spain. Sometimes you want to add a prefix to the name. Okay, because after all, these were coming from the column country, right? This is the original column that we have. So if you want to have that column name as a prefix, we give this argument: prefix is equal to some text you write here, and that text underscore the name of the individual levels will be taken. Okay, so now what I have done here is, this is dummy variables. This is what we use for parametric models, which will have just 2 columns. But if you want to do any of the non-parametric models, you can run just one hot encoding. You can add all the 3 columns and you can go for your modeling step. Okay, so this is the difference between dummy variables and one hot encoding. Any questions? Okay. Okay, so let's move ahead then. And how do you add these? So now, right now I just have these as separate columns. You can use the concat method. Okay, you can use the concat method in Python and add these 2 columns to the original data. So I have df is my original data, and this entire line I have here, I'm adding the two. These two are data frames. So I can use the concat function and add them to a new variable called df underscore new. So you see I have added these 3 columns. Okay, I can of course use drop first, as I have used here. Drop first is equal to true to drop any of these columns. Okay, to drop the first column from here. So what I have here is one hot encoding. Okay, so I can remove this country column now, or I can not include it while doing my machine learning model. I can just include my age column and these age, salary, and these 3 columns. Okay, so that will be one hot encoding. Purchase is my dependent variable. Okay, now let's move ahead. Okay, so this is something which this was just revision for everybody. I think everybody knows what this is. Maybe you did not know what is the difference between one hot encoding and dummy variables, but that is pretty much the same thing. Okay, Now, why did I choose this as the webinar topic? Okay, because there is more here. Okay, so let's go into the complexities now. Okay, now what is the disadvantage of using the dummy variable or one hot encoding? Okay, okay, this should be one hot encoding. Okay, OHE. So what is the disadvantage there? Now the disadvantage is, what if your data has many number of unique categories? Okay, here we had only three. Okay, so if your data has, let's say, 3 or 4 unique levels, that is not an issue. Okay, you can create dummy variables, you will have a few new columns created, and you can go ahead. But what if your data has, let's say, your data has 100 new categories, or for example, let's say we are talking about the states of India. Like we have like around 30 states. Okay, so if we have around 30 different states, so that means when you create dummy variables, or when you create one hot encoding for them, you will have around 30 new columns in your data. Okay, so 30 new columns in your data, you will be facing the phenomenon of curse of dimensionality. Okay, so I'll not go into the details of what is curse of dimensionality. I hope everybody knows this. This is covered in the courses that we have. Okay, this I'll just give you a gist of it. So what it means is, whenever you are building a machine learning model, okay, the dimension of your data, or the number of columns that you have in your data, as they keep increasing, it becomes more and more complex for your model to identify the pattern, to generalize the pattern. Okay, so you may be moving towards overfitting as you keep increasing more and more columns. Okay, so it is always advisable in machine learning to have as few columns as possible. That is why we have so many methods of filtering out unwanted columns from our data, right? For example, if you remember from linear or logistic regression, the parametric models, we have the concept of p-values, right? So that we can eliminate the unwanted columns, or columns which are not affecting your dependent variable. Okay, so you see the p values, and then you decide. If your p is very small, that means that variable is important. If your p is higher than around 10%, or sometimes even 5%, then you say that that variable is not affecting your dependent variable, and you eliminate those variables. Okay, so that is to avoid the curse of dimensionality. The curse of dimensionality is, as your variables keep increasing, it becomes more and more difficult for the model to identify the pattern and generalize the pattern. Okay, now when there are too many categories of a categorical variable, this is also known as high cardinality. Okay, so high cardinality is just a term that is used when a categorical variable has many categories, many unique levels. Okay, so whenever there are too many categories of a categorical variable or high cardinality, creating dummy variables or one hot encoding will result into too many new columns. Okay, so you will have too many new columns created, which will cause curse of dimensionality, and you will not fit your data well. You will probably overfit the data, and your performance will reduce drastically. Your performance on the test data might reduce drastically. Okay, so for example, if you have 10,000 rows in your data and one categorical column. Okay, let's say you have one categorical column. Let's say x1 is the column, and there are 100 different categories. After creation of dummy variables, there will be 10k rows. The rows will remain the same, of course, and there will be 99 columns. Okay, if you are creating dummy variables, you are dropping one of the levels, so you will still have 99 columns. Okay, just from one column x1. So x1 will result into 99 new columns. This will make it very hard for any machine learning model to fit the data well. Okay, so this is the issue. This is curse of dimensionality. That is why we always try to reduce the number of columns that we have. So you have the concept of p values for parametric models. Then sometimes when we try to run random forest or xzb model, we go for feature importance, right? Remember, we go for feature importance. We try to find out which of these features are important, and we try to build new models with only those important features. We try to remove the unwanted features. Okay, so this is to avoid the curse of dimensionality, or this is to have less dimensions in your data, okay, to keep the dimensions to a small number. Okay, so now what do we do? So you have seen the problem now, right? Let me show you the problem again in Excel. Okay, so I have taken some data. I'll give the source of this data to everybody. So I have some data where which is a high cardinality data, okay, which has one column which has too many unique values. Let me just show you. Okay, so this is some data that I have. You see how many columns do I have? I have 5 columns here. Okay, so this is the ID column. Then we have the target. This is the dependent variable, and I have 3 independent variables. Okay, and though these are numerical, these look numerical, but if you look at the name, it is given from the source of the data. Okay, the source of the data tells me that this is a categorical variable. Okay, you can see there is this underscore cat mentioned here. Okay, so the source of the data has clearly told me that this is a categorical variable, though they are written as numbers. Okay, so though they are written as numbers, but they are actually categorical variables. They have just written numbers instead of writing the string. Okay, so we don't have to use these numbers as they are. These are actually categorical variables. Okay, this is also categorical variable. You see, these two are categorical variables. This is a numeric variable. So here we can use the numbers, but for these two columns we cannot use the numbers. Okay, it is given information that these two are categorical variables. Okay, again, this is given from the source of the data. Okay, I'm not telling you this from my personal information. This is given, this is told to me. Now let's look at this. Okay, let's look at this categorical, and I have, how many rows do I have? You see, I have 10,000 rows. Okay, I have 10,000 rows here. Now let's look at this categorical column. You see there are around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 unique categories here. Okay, I'm showing you this in Excel because everybody understands this. Okay, because some of you might be coming from our language, right? So there are 5 unique categories here. So not an issue. I have 5 unique categories. Even if I go for one hot encoding, I will have, let's say, 5 new columns. Okay, I will have 5 new columns, and my data is 10,000. So no issues at all. You can see that this is not really a curse of dimensionality. Just 5 columns can very easily be handled by 10,000 rows. But let's look at the other categorical column, this one. Okay, so this categorical column, if you see, it starts from 1 and goes all the way to 104. Okay, that means there are 104 categories here, 104 unique categories, which is why I'm calling this is a high cardinality data. Okay, because there are many unique categories in this data. Okay, now if you create dummy variables for this, since you have 104 unique categories, you will have 104 new columns. Okay, so for 10,000 records, if you have 104 new columns just for this, plus you have these two other columns also, right? Plus you will have these two other columns, plus some categories, some dummy variables will come from this column. Around maybe around 5 will come, right? I had 5 here, right? Yeah, I had 5, so I'll have 5 one hot encoded variables from here, and from here I'll have 104. Okay, so you will end up having these many unique columns. Now you will have almost 110 plus unique columns. Now that might be a lot. Even if the number of rows is 10,000, having 110 columns will be a lot. Okay, so that means we will fall into the curse of dimensionality issue. Okay, so how do we deal with this now? Okay, so how do we deal with this column now, given that we have so many unique values? Creating dummy variables or going for one hot encoding may not be the best approach here. So how do we deal with this? This is something which we will discuss about in this in the uh, next few minutes. Okay, so do you understand the issue, guys? Do you understand the problem that you are facing? Is it a genuine problem, or what do you suggest should be done here? Let's hear from you. So can you write in the chat window what you think should be done now? Let me see what other people say. Bucketing. Okay, Jagdish says we should go for bucketing. Okay. Yes, Pradeep. This is the issue that we have. We have one variable with 104 unique values. No, we cannot have that, right? How can you have one variable with 104? How will you include that? Because that is a categorical variable. That is the problem. This is a categorical variable. Don't look at the numbers here. Imagine these are strings. These are some different strings, and there are 104 unique strings. Okay, so imagine these are city names. So instead of writing the city name, they have given 1 2 3 4. Okay, and let's say somewhere they have that one represents one city, two represents another city. So you cannot have these strings as they are in a model, right? So we will have to convert them into numbers. So how do we convert them into numbers? Okay, so Jagdish has mentioned let's go for bucketing. Okay, I think this is something which I mentioned in the previous in the courses, that in the videos that we have. Okay, so but there is a small flaw in that. Okay, so let's discuss. So first approach is you drop that column. Okay, Vishal says an answer: group by count of the categorical column and keep those, say 5 to 10 with high number and rest. So exactly. So Vishal, this is exactly what bucketing is, which Jagdish was mentioning. Okay, this is known as bucketing. Okay, that's the jargon used. But yeah, that is what we try to do. Okay, so the very first approach, or the crude approach, you would say, is let's drop that column. So one column is creating a issue for us. Let's drop it. We still have some other columns, right? We still have these columns. We will use them, and we will just drop that column. Okay, and this is in fact done a lot of times in the industry, because in the industry you will have not just 4 or 5 columns. You might have, let's say, 50 or 100 columns in your data. Okay, so when you have 100 columns and there is one column which is causing an issue to you, you will just to make it easier, simpler for you, you will just delete that column, because you anyways have some 100 other columns to deal with. Okay, so this is the approach which is used, but this is naive. Okay, what if that column is very important? What if that column has a direct relationship with your dependent variable? So in that case, dropping the column is not the solution. Okay, but it could be one of the solutions if that column is not important. Okay, so this is one approach. May not work always, but yeah. Next is binning the different categories. Okay, this is what you guys have suggested. So as a beginner, this is something I used to do often. Okay, keep the most occurring categories and group the remaining into one category and give it some name. Okay, so let me explain this idea first for the benefit of everybody. So what is this binning? Okay, so if you look at let me move to the Python notebook here. Okay, so I have moved to the Python notebook. So I'm reading this data, this new data now. I'm reading 10,000 rows, and I'm reading. So this data has a lot of columns. Okay, I'm just reading these 4 columns, whatever I have shown you. Okay, and this is what you have seen. This is the number of unique values for the other column, the other categorical column, which had only 5 unique categories. Okay, these are the counts of each, and this is the column that we are talking about. This is the problematic column. Okay, so ps underscore car underscore 11 underscore cat. This cat represents categorical variable. Now this is the unique count. Okay, so this is the value of 104. Okay, so let me filter this. I'll write 104. Okay, so 104, if you look at the count here, you see the count is 1421. So that means there are 1420 observations. This is including the column name. So there are 1420 observations which have the value 104. Okay, and that is what is shown here. 104, there are 1420 observations which have this value. Okay, similarly for 103. So 103, there are 386 observations which have the value 103. So 386 observations which have the value 103. Okay, and so on. And so on for the other values. Note, this is the value. This is the unique value. This is the unique level. Okay, or the unique categories. And this is the number of count. This is the frequency. Now, what we generally do, and I used to do this a lot of times earlier, was I used to see which one is present most in the data, and you see this category 104 is present most. Out of 10,000 rows, I can divide it by the total number of rows in the data. Okay, the data name is train. Let me divide it by the total number of rows so that I get the proportion. Instead of the count, I get the proportion. So I'll divide it by the total number of rows, which is 10,000, and I run this again. Now I have the proportion. Now you see 14% of the data has the value 104. 3% has 103, another 3% has 64, then 2.9% has 87, and so on. Okay, so the concept of bucketing is that what we do is we keep this and we keep a few which are present more in proportion. So let's say around 2%. So we will keep these unique categories. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we will keep these 7 categories, and all the others we will group them together. All the other categories, since they are present in very small number, so this is only 1.9%, again 1.9%, 1.8, and so on. You see it keeps decreasing because I have arranged in decreasing order. It keeps decreasing, and you have some categories which are present only 0.14%, which is like very few records. Okay, so what I will do is I'll keep these categories as they are, and all the others, all of these, I will group them together and I'll call it some name. Let's say I'll call it others. Okay. So this will be 104, this will be 103, then 64, 87, and so on. And all of these will be grouped into one category called others. Okay. So now you have, after doing that, how many categories do you have? You have these 7 plus one others. Okay, so you will have total of 8 categories. This is the concept of bucketing. You will have 8 categories. Now from these 8 categories you can go by the previous approach. You can go and use one hot encoding, or you can use dummy variable. Okay, so you will have around 7 or 8 new columns, and plus 3 or 4 other columns that were present in the data. So you will end up having around 10 columns for 10,000 rows, which is quite good. So no longer you will face the curse of dimensionality. 10,000 rows and 10 columns after creating dummy variables. So you are good. Okay. So this is the approach which is used by a lot of people. I won't say this is wrong. It works in a lot of cases, but let me show you some cases where this is not the best approach. Okay, this will not work. Okay, so let's discuss that. Any questions so far? I'll just have some water. Okay, so yeah, let's see what I have written here. So first is drop the column, second is bin into different categories. So in the above example, we find out that only 20 of the categories in the variable have a good proportion. Okay, so let's say, so in our data it was actually worse. We did not have even 20 of them. It was just 7 or 8 unique values which were quite common, and others were very small in proportion. Okay, so what we do is, let's say some of the unique categories form 85 to 90% of the data, and the rest 80 categories. So this is just an example. Okay, this is not related to the data that we are looking. Okay, so in the above example, is where we have 10k rows and one column which has 100 different categories. Okay, so one column has 100 unique values. So in the above example, we find out that 20 of the categories in the variable X has good proportion in the data. So they form around 85 to 90% of the data, and the remaining 80 categories comprise the remaining 50 to 20%. Okay. So then what we can do is we can group the 80 categories and call it others. Okay. We can group them together and give it some name, miscellaneous or others, whatever name you want. Name doesn't matter really. Then we, as usual, go for dummy variable or one hot encoding. Okay, Note that now we will have only 20 or 21 new columns, okay, because we are only taking 20 unique categories which are present more in the data. Remaining 80 we are grouping it together, so we will have only 20 or 21 new columns. This may save us from the curse of dimensionality to a large extent. Okay, so this is what we generally do. A lot of people do this, okay, and this works sometimes, but a lot of times this doesn't work. Okay, however, this is flawed. Now let's go into the details. Why is this flawed? Okay, now let me show you using on the Python notebook. Let me show you something. Okay, now what is the purpose of converting this dummy variable? The purpose is that we are trying to build machine learning models, right? We are trying to build machine learning models, and we want all the information that is present in this column, okay, this problematic column. We want all the information to help us predict the dependent variable well. Okay, that is the goal, right? Now here, this is the same information that we have here, the proportion. I have shown it as a graph. Okay, so you see there is this category which is 104. Again, this number is not easily visible, you can just see the 4 here, but this is for 104. So you see it is present around 1400 times. Okay, this is not in proportion, this is as count. Okay, so you see it is present 1420 times. Remaining are all less than 300, around 300. So you see this comes to around 1400. Okay, rest are all small in number. So this is the count is on the y-axis, and x-axis is the variable. Okay, these are unique values. You can see there are almost like how many are there? 104 of them. Okay, starting from 1 goes to 104. Okay, now what we were trying to do earlier is the concept of bucketing. We were taking the ones which were most common. So we were taking this pink one, then we were taking this bar, this bar, this bar, maybe these two and this one, and remaining all which were smaller in number, okay, which were small in proportion, we were grouping them together. Now why is that an issue? Now the issue is, again, remember, we are trying to understand the dependent variable well. We are trying to predict the dependent variable well. Now let me compare this with the dependent variable. So what I will do now is I will compare that within each of these categories, how is the dependent variable doing? Okay, so for example, when my data is 104, so here, so let's say when the value is 104, okay, so I should have 1420 records. How is the dependent variable? Okay, how is the dependent variable? Is it 0 or is it 1? Again, this is a classification example I have taken. But how is the dependent variable? Do we have more zeros or do we have more ones? Okay, so if you look at this average here, so the probability is 0.04. That means out of these 1400, around 4% are ones, rest are zeros, right? You can even count how many are ones and how many are zeros. So you can see the sum is 64. That means there are 64 ones out of 1400. So 1421 is the total, and there are 64 ones, I think, right? Sum is 64. Yeah. So if you divide 64 by 1420, not 1421, that includes the column name, you get 0.04. Okay, so that means this is the same number, 0.045. Okay, so this is the average, or this basically shows you how many ones are there in your data. Okay, so around 4% ones I have in my data. Now let's look at another category. So instead of looking at 104, let me look at, let's say, 5. Let me look at this 5 now. Okay, so I have this 5, I have 192 records. So let me just note it down. I have 192 records. Now how many of these 192 are ones? I'll try to see that. So I can see that using sum. You see sum is 13, so 13. Now let me calculate the probability. Okay, I could have done it here itself. I can just look at average. Okay, so the average, if you see, it is 0.06. Okay, which is the same number as 13 divided by this number. Okay, 0.06. What was the average we got earlier? What was that? I think it was point something, right? I myself forgot. Okay, I can look it here. Okay, Yeah, 4% actually. And here we have 6%. Okay, so previously we had 4%. So when we talk about the level, the category 104, we had 4%. Okay, and when we talk about 13, okay, no, 5, when we talk about 5 we have 6%. Now you see there is a difference. This 4% has lesser ones in your data compared to that 6%. Okay, compared to 5. And similarly you might have some other category. Let's say I have a category which is 10, which has 0%, which has 0% ones in your data. Okay, now if you just go for a random binning, if you just bin these small categories, you might bin variables which have different information with respect to the dependent variable. I hope everybody is understanding me, because the goal here is to track how are each of the unique levels affecting the dependent variable. So for each level, is it so? Let's give you a small example. Let's say we have city names, and let's say whenever in the data the city is Mumbai, whenever the city is Mumbai, the output variable is always 1. Okay, but whenever the city is, let's say, Bangalore, the output is always 0. And let's say Bangalore and Mumbai, they are very small in proportion. Let's say each of these are 1% and 1%. So what you do by the bucketing approach, you just combine them. But when you combine them, what happens? The information with respect to the dependent variable, which was once which was always 1 when it was Mumbai and always 0 when it was Bangalore, will be lost, because you have combined them together. Now your model, what will it predict? Whenever you deal with these two as together, your model will predict something in between. Okay, but previously it was better. There was a clear difference that when it is Mumbai it is 1, when it is Bangalore it is 0. So you should have left it that way. You shouldn't have combined it. I hope you are getting, guys. Okay, because the goal is how well are we able to understand the dependent variable. Okay, of course there is a problem that we face, the problem of curse of dimensionality, so we try to combine. But while dealing with this problem, we lose our original goal, which is tracking how each behave with the dependent variable. Okay, so now what I will do is I will plot this, whatever I was showing you in Excel, these proportions, I will plot this in Python now. Okay, so this is what I have plotted each of this. So if you look at the code, it's not very difficult to understand. People from Python background will know this. I'm just creating a figure. This is the dimension of the figure. So 15 in length and 3 in width, and I'm giving the columns. So I want to plot this column. This is our problematic column and the dependent variable, and I'm grouping it based on the dependent variable. Okay, and taking the average, which is nothing but taking the probability. Okay, it is taking the proportion. Then I'm arranging the proportions in descending order. Okay, and then I'm plotting it. You see, this is what we get. So you see, your 104 will be somewhere. Again, these are not clear because there are too many unique categories, so this is not coming very clearly, but you can see that they are different. So for example, this category, I think this is 63. So this has the highest probability. This has almost 18%. You can see this is the target. So let's see this in Excel. So 63, we should see for 63. Let me delete these. So 63. Okay, so I'll look at the average. You see, it is 16%. Okay, it is 16%. So there is a high probability of getting a 1 here. So this is like the Mumbai example I gave. Okay, of course I simplified it further by saying whenever it is Mumbai it is always 1, but here it is 16% 1 whenever it is 63. Okay, so this is what is shown here, and you see the probability of getting ones keep decreasing. It keep decreasing. Okay, and this is the probability. Okay, note guys, this is not the count was shown here. This is the frequency. This is how many times these category appear in the data. This is not how many times they appear. This is how many times one appears in that category. Okay, I hope you are following this. This is like we are discussing something very detailed here. Okay, this is showing you the probability of 1 for each of the category, whereas this was showing you the count, how many times that category is present. So for example, Mumbai, how many times Mumbai is present in our data. Okay, but this is showing you whenever it is Mumbai, what percentage of it is 1. Okay, this is what it is showing you. So you see that for 63 you have a high percentage of 1, which is almost 20%, and it keeps decreasing. Now when you go for binning, when you go for binning, let's say you bin these together, these which are having less proportion, then you might end up binning this one with something which is here. Okay, because their proportion might be similar. Maybe this is very small in proportion, and you saw that this is like only how many times, only 19. There are only 19 rows like this. Okay, so you might end up binning this with something which is here, okay, which has totally different probability. Okay, so you might end up binning Mumbai and Bangalore together, whereas with respect to a dependent variable, they are clearly different. Mumbai has ones and Bangalore has only zeros as the dependent variable, but let's say both are present very small number of times in the data, both are present, let's say 2% times, so you group them together. So okay, but then when you group them together, that the information that was present in them, in each one of them, with respect to the dependent variable is lost because you have grouped them together. Okay, so this is the issue, this is why I'm saying it is flawed. The concept of grouping them together is flawed because the information with respect to the dependent variable is lost when you group them together. Okay, so I hope everybody understood why it is flawed. Okay. Okay, so this is what I have written here, just a revision. What if the data and the different categories look like this? Okay, so always a good approach is, I'm not saying don't go for bucketing. Okay, you can always go for bucketing, but before that verify. Okay, you should verify by drawing a plot, or something like this. You can just look at the information, or you can draw a plot like this, and then you should decide that is grouping these two categories together, for example, is grouping Mumbai and Bangalore together and calling them other cities, is this approach good or not with respect to this data? Because each might have different information. If they have different information with respect to the dependent variable, then grouping them together is not a good idea. Okay, so that you can verify by looking at a plot like this. Okay, so each category has almost equal proportion, so one cannot select a few of them as the most common in the data. Okay, and the other problem is, what if your data does not have a few categories which is more in proportion? What if each of the unique categories in your data is let's say 2%? You have 50 unique values and each is present 2% of the time, totaling 100%. So there you cannot decide that okay, these are my most frequent, I'll keep them as is, and everything else I'll club them as others. You cannot do that also, right? So that is one method, that is one point where you cannot apply the bucketing approach, which is this highlighted here. The other is when we plot the different categories with respect to the target. Okay, then each of the different categories has a different proportion, highlighting that each category has a different relation with the target variable. Okay, there also our previous approach may not be the best way forward. Okay, this one we have already discussed. Now I have shown you this with respect to classification data. That is why I was taking the probability. What will you consider when you have a regression case, when your dependent variable is not ones and zeros but some number? Okay, let's say salary of the individual based on the city. Okay, so there instead of taking the average, of course average will of course the probability will not make sense there. So there you take the average. Okay, so the average salary of Mumbai is very different than the average salary of Bangalore. Then also it's not a good idea to combine them. Okay, if they have almost the same average salary, then you can combine them because they have similar information. But if they are very different, then it is not a good idea to combine them together. Okay, so we have a question here. So looking at the numbers, we can say it is highly unbalanced. Yeah, you can say it is unbalanced. While merging, do we ensure the balancing part? Yes, so what you have to do is you will have to try to merge only the ones which have similar information with respect to the dependent variable. You can only merge them together. Okay, so for example, Mumbai and Bangalore, given the information I gave you, you should not merge them together. Let's say you have another city, Hyderabad, which has also zeros just like Bangalore. Then you can merge Hyderabad and Bangalore together, but not Mumbai and any of the two together. Okay, because they have different information with respect to the dependent variable. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so now what do we do then? Okay, so now let's see the solution. Now what should we do in these cases? Okay, if you are having these issues, then what are the different ways you can try? Again, I'm not saying that these ways are the best approach. Okay, you know guys, machine learning, there is nothing which is defined. It's all about trial and error. So there are multiple things that I'll suggest. Now you can try each of these and see which one is having a good effect on the model, which one is giving you a good fit on the data. Okay, there is no one solution which is the best. Okay, I'll suggest a few ideas here which may help, which may not help. Okay, but definitely these will help you. I'm sure I have tried these on a lot of data and this has helped me. Plus it will be very helpful in interviews. If this is asked in interview, you will have a lot of things to talk about. Otherwise usually candidates just talk about dummy variables. Okay, that is something very easy, everybody knows. But now you will have a few points to talk about in interviews. Okay. Okay, so let's move ahead. Now the first solution to that I'm proposing is called target encoding. Okay, as you might have guessed, we will use the target information and we will encode that into the variable. Okay, so what is target encoding? Okay, so two approaches, one for classification case, one for regression case. Okay, now for classification, whatever we were doing, so why not take the probability? Okay, so we have this variable. Instead of creating dummy variables or one hot encoding this variable, what I will do is I'll replace this variable with the probability of the target. Okay, so this is exactly what we do in target encoding. I will just replace this variable with the probability of the target, and I can easily calculate that, right? I have calculated it here. I have just used a normal group by function, and I have calculated the probability of each of these. So for example, 63, the unique value 63, the probability is 16.6%. Similarly for 21, it is 14%. All I have to do is just merge this with the original data. Okay, I can use the pandas dot merge, or I can do a left join. Okay, I can do a left join of this table with the original data, this data frame with the original data, and wherever this is 63, okay, so wherever this is 64, I'll merge the probability that I get from 64. Okay, whatever the probability, I'll just merge it. Okay, so target encoding, it tells you that you can just replace that variable with the probability of the target variable. Okay, this is for classification. For regression, what you will do, instead of taking the probability, take the average of the target. Okay, here you will take the probability as we were doing on this data, right? We were calculating the probability. For regression, there is no concept of probability. There you will take the average value of the target, and replace that on the problematic column. So now you see there is no curse of dimensionality here, because how many columns are you creating? Just one. Okay, you are replacing the column by just one column which has the probability information. You are not even creating two columns. But if you had to do dummy variables, you would have gotten around 100 new columns. Now you are getting just one column. Yeah, actually it is the same. Okay, but I just wanted to specify that it is probability and it is taking the average. Okay, but yeah, of course, when you apply the mean function, you will get the same result. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so that is what is target encoding, guys. Okay, so you will get just one new column, and there will be no problem of curse of dimensionality. The other advantage that you get in target encoding is that now how do we deal with missing values? Okay, let's discuss that. Let's say there is one missing value in your data. So your data has some missing values. Okay, again, I don't have any missing values here, but imagine that there was some missing value here. So that should not be a problem at all. Okay, because you can calculate the probability also for the missing value. Okay, so for example, let's say 60 represents the missing value. Okay, value 60 represents the missing value. So what I will do is I will filter for the missing value. So how many missing values do I have in data? I have 140 138 rows that have missing value. Okay, so imagine that 60 represents a missing value. Okay, so I have 160 rows, or not 160, I have 138 rows. I will just calculate the probability for them. So the probability is 5%. Okay, so as I would do for any of the other categories, I would do for the missing values also. So you will treat the missing values in the same way as you would treat any other category, so no issues at all. So this handles missing values as just another value and computes the encoding like it does for any other value of the variables. Okay, now, when we talk about train and test data, let's also discuss what if we have some new categories in the test data. Okay, so let's say you have red, green, and blue in your train, but when you go to test data, you have purple. Then what would you do? So in that case, you will just take the probability as 0 because purple was not present in your train data. So you will always take the probability from the train data. Okay, guys, remember this. You take the probabilities from the train data, not from the test data. Otherwise there would be data leakage. Okay, you're looking at the target information in test while building your model, which is never allowed, which is cheating, right? We have discussed this in several of our videos. Okay, so we don't use the information from the test data. So whenever you see a new category in the test data, we just take, which is not present in the train data, we take the probability as 0, as simple as that. Okay, and in regression we take the average. Okay, this is just nothing, no difference while computing, while writing codes, but just like for your information. Okay, so this is one way of fixing the cardinality issue. Okay, so remember this, guys, it's called target encoding. Why target encoding? Because you are using target information while encoding the categorical variables. Okay, so the dummy variable is also known as dummy variable encoding. Okay, encoding is just converting categories to numerical. Okay, this is called encoding. We call dummy variable encoding because there we create dummy variables. Here we call it target encoding because we are using information from the target. Okay, so remember, there is no problem of curse of dimensionality. We don't face this issue at all. Okay, we just take the average or probability of 1 and replace the column with either the average or the probability of the ones. Okay, now let's move to the next one. What is the other what other approaches can we do? Okay, because again these are not the caveat here is that it is not guaranteed that this will help you. This may not help you. Okay, it depends on the data. So but there are different ways you can try. The next one that we will discuss is called frequency encoding. Okay, it's called frequency encoding. It is very simple. So this time what we will do is, instead of looking at the target, we will not look at the target this time. We will only look at the frequency of each category. Okay, so for example, let's say Mumbai is present 10 times in our data. So I will write 10. I'll create a column and I will write 10 there. Bangalore is present 15 times in my data. I'll write 15, and similarly for the other cities. Okay, so what will I do here? So for example, 60, how many times is it present? So there's nothing to do with the target variable now. Okay, I'll just count. It is present 138 times. So wherever I have 60, I will write 138. I'll just write 138 wherever I have 60. So I'm taking the frequency. Okay, this is a very simple approach. So, and wherever I have some other value, let's say I have 1, I'll just count 1. How many times is it present? 55 times. So I'll have 55. I'll have 55 instead of 1. Okay, so you are replacing the column with the frequency of the category. Simple. Okay, now again you might ask, what if there is a missing value? Same what you would do for any of the category. Missing value, if it is present, so let's say missing information. So here let's say 10 rows in your data has missing value, so you write 10 here. So it's just taking the count. Okay, So yeah, this is frequency encoding, very similar to target encoding, but it is much simpler. You are taking the frequency instead of taking the probability of the target or average of the target. Okay, so this is frequency encoding. This also helps a lot of times. This also helps. So this is also something which you can try, and this also does not suffer from the curse of dimensionality. Okay, this will not suffer from the curse of dimensionality because you are creating only one new column. Jagdish is asking, is regression also same? Uh, yes, for regression also it will be the same. Exactly. Yes, Jagdish. So you do this for both classification and regression. Okay, you just take the count irrespective of, because you're not looking at the target information at all. So it doesn't matter what your target is. It is binary or it is some numerical value. Okay. Okay, so the last approach that I will cover is called binary encoding. Okay, now this is a little difficult to understand, but let me try my best. Okay, now this is the last approach that I'll discuss. It's called binary encoding. Now what is binary encoding? Okay, so as I have written here, it has 3 steps. Convert the categories into numeric. Okay, so first I will convert the categories into some numbers. Okay, so let's say I have Mumbai, I have Bangalore, I have let's say Hyderabad. Okay, I'm just taking 3 cities. So let's say I will say Mumbai is 1, or let's say I'll call it 10. Bangalore I'll call, let's say 20. Hyderabad I will call 30. Okay, I'm just giving some numbers here. Okay, now what I'll do, so this is called label encoding. What is label encoding? Converting strings into numbers, some numbers, is called label encoding. So I have just given, so there is a function in Python which automatically does this. Okay, it will give 0, 1, 2 based on alphabetical order. So B will become 0. Then you have H, right? So H will become 1, and Hyderabad will become, oh no, H will become 1, and Mumbai will become 2. In alphabetical order it will do. Instead of 1, 0, 1, 2, I'm just taking 10, 20, and 30. Next step, this is the step number 1. Next step, convert label encoding into its binary equivalent. Now what I will do is I'll convert these numbers into binary. So 10, I'll convert it to binary. So you remember how do we convert decimal numbers to binary? Just divide them by 2. So 2 into 5 is 10, remainder 0. 2 into 2 is 4, remainder 1. 2 into 1 is 2, remainder is 0. So the binary equivalent of 10 is 1010. Okay, you read this way. So here I will write 1010. Okay, next is 20. So 2 10 ja 20, 0, 2 5 ja 10, 0, 2 2 ja 4, 1, 2 1 ja 2, 0. So 10100. So I will write 10100. Similarly for 30 also you would do. Okay, okay, so you will write 1 1 1 1 1 1 and 0. Okay, I hope I am right. Okay, 1 1 1, 4 ones and zeros. Okay, so yeah, you have converted them into their binary equivalent. Okay, now what you would do, each of these you will take them as separate columns. Okay, so what I will do now is I will take this, the first digit. Okay, I'll take the first digit. This is one column. Okay, so I have one column in my data which has the value 0 for Mumbai, 0 for Bangalore, and 0 for Hyderabad. Okay, next I will take this one, the second column. Okay, again I should have given space here, which is 1 0 and 1. So the second column is 1 for Mumbai, 0 for Bangalore, and 1 for Hyderabad. Similarly, next is 0 1 1. So 0 1 1. Okay, the next is 1 0 1. Okay, and again is 0 1 1. So I have 1 2 3 4 and 5. I have 5 new columns now. Okay, I have 5 new columns. Each column is binary. Okay, each column is binary. Again, I got more columns because instead of 0 1 2, I had taken 10 20 and 30. Okay, if I had taken 0 1 2, I would get only 1 or 2 columns. Okay, but in a bigger example, this is how you would do. Do you understand, guys? Did you follow this? Yes, you can try that also. Yeah. So that will be mixing two ideas together. Okay. You can try that, Vishal. You can, instead of converting them to some numbers, you can have the frequency instead. You can have their frequency and convert their frequency to binary and then do. Okay. But again, the drawback I see here is, I haven't tried that, but the drawback I see there is the frequency will be a large number. Okay. The frequency will be a large number, and that large number, when you convert into binary, may result into many columns. Okay. So it may result into too many columns, and you might again face curse of dimensionality. Okay. But when you just do it 0 1 2, instead of frequency you label and code it with serial numbers like 0 1 2, then the number of columns that you get will be very small. Okay. Otherwise you can try. Jagdish, no, you will assign 0 1 2, but yeah, it is kind of random. Okay. It is kind of random. You just in ascending order you give those numbers. Okay. So let me show you this in Python. Okay. So frequency encoding, this is pretty simple. You have seen this. Now binary encoding. Okay. So so this is the function that is used. Okay. To find the binary equivalent of a number. This is the function that we use. Where is it? Yeah, this one. Okay. So you just write bin. Let me show you. So you write bin and you write the number. So for example, 10. Okay. You run it and this is what you have. Whatever you have after this B is binary. So 1010, right? And I think this is what we also got. So 1010. For 10 we got 1010. So this is the number. Similarly for 20 you can see it is 10100. Okay. So for 20 we got 10100. The screen is still. Guys, can you see the Python notebook on the screen right now? Okay. Okay, so this is the formula. This is the function in Python that converts any decimal number to its binary equivalent. Okay. Now here what we have to do is we will have to find the maximum number. Okay. So let me show you this detail. So let's say the numbers are, oops, just a minute. So let's say the numbers are 0, 1 and 2. Okay. This is the decimal number. Okay, Shalya has a question. Let's say if categories have diverse values like 1 or 100 after label encoding, how do you manage in column and binary? Okay, so Shalya, it will not have values like that. Okay, whenever you encode something, it will always be 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. Okay, it will not be 0 and then 100 and then 1000. It will not be like that. It will be 0 1 2 3 and so on. It will be serial number. Okay, it will not be random values. It will always be serial number. But yeah, if you have, let's say, 100 unique values in the data, then the serial number itself will reach till 99, right? Because you have 100 unique values. Okay. Okay, let me just erase these. Okay, so these are the decimal numbers. Let's say these are the decimal numbers. Now let's convert them into binary. So 0 in binary is 0, 1 in binary is 1. So 2 into 1 is 2, remainder is 0. So 2 is 10. 2 is 10 in binary, right? So you see, what do we have now? So for this, what will we have? We will have two new columns. For these three, we will have two columns. So let's say this is row number 1, row number 2 and row number 3. Okay, these are row numbers. So for row number 1 you will have So it's 0 here. I can write 0, right? 1 means 0, 1, 0 means 0, 0. Okay. So I'll write 0, 0 and 1 and 0, 1 and 0. So these are new columns that we will have with respect to these values, these label encodings. Okay. Now you see here, what is important is what is the highest number giving you, how many digits. Okay. The highest number will decide how many new columns you will have, not the other numbers. The highest number, the highest decimal number will decide how many new columns you get. Because you see, when I converted 0 into binary, I got 0. When I converted 1 into binary, I got 1. When I converted 2 into binary, I got 1 0. Okay. So 2 gave you 2 digits. So you are having 2 columns. Okay. So having nothing here means 0. Having nothing here means 0. Okay. So it is actually the highest value of the categorical variable that decides how many digits or how many columns you will have. Okay. So that is why when you run this in Python, you first find the max of the data. Okay. You find the max of the data, and for our data you can clearly see, so we don't have to do label encoding because our data was already given to us as numbers, right? It was already label encoded. So if you see, the highest value is 104. Okay. So highest value is 104. So if I run this, first I find the highest value, which is 104. Then I find out how many digits will 104 give me. Okay, that I get from this function. Okay, so which is nothing but finding bin of 104. So bin of 104, if you see, after B, you are getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 digits. That means you will have 7 new columns. Okay. And that is what this function is doing here. This is a fancy looking function, which is nothing but I'm just taking whatever is after this B. I'm first converting this global max into binary. Okay. I'm converting this into binary and then taking whatever comes after this B, which is 7 digits. Okay. I'm counting it. That is why the length function is here. Okay. So there are 7 numbers after this. So that means I will have 7 new columns. So 7 new columns is quite good, right? Because I had 104 unique categories in my data or unique levels in my data. So replacing that with just 7 columns is quite cool. So curse of dimensionality will no longer be an issue. And then what I do is I just convert each of the values with their binary equivalent. Okay. So the first value, whatever it is, I convert it to its binary equivalent. Similarly for second, for third, everything. Okay. I have used the head function here. So it is showing only the first 5 values to you. Okay. I have used the lambda function here. And then I just put it into a new column. I assign that into a new column, and then I just give some names. Okay. So you see now, this is the data that I have, right? This is the problematic column. I convert it to its binary equivalent. So I don't need to show it here. These are the columns that I actually will have. I'm just showing it for your easy understanding. Now I have this column. See, I have just given underscore 0 here. Okay. You see, it will be 0. Okay. For here it will be 0, then again 0, then 1. Okay. Then again 1. And similarly the next one will be the second digit, the second digit. Okay. And so on. So similarly I'll have these 7 columns now. So I have this 1, which will take the first digit from each of them, the second, which will take the second digit, third, fourth, fifth. Okay. This is sixth and this is seventh. Okay. So I'll have 7 new columns. Then I will delete this column. I will delete this column. These columns are numeric now, so I will have no issues in having them in my model now. Okay. And the curse of dimensionality also will not be an issue, as they are just 7 new columns. Okay. So this is the approach of binary encoding. Okay. Where you convert the categorical values into first numbers. For us, for the data that we took, numbers were already given to us, so we did not have to do this. Then we convert label encoding into its binary equivalent, and then split each bit. Each bit means each of these digits. Okay. We split each bit into a column and have its input as 1 or 0 from the binary equivalent of that number. So I hope everybody is following. Okay. This is a little tricky compared to the other two approach that we have seen. This is the most difficult, but you can try this also. Okay, so I have given you three ways of fixing high cardinality in your data. Okay, high cardinality means when your categorical variable has too many individual categories in your data. Okay, the first one that we saw, again, what we already knew here was that we can bucket, but the drawback we saw was whenever we bucket different categories together, each category might be unique in terms of its relation with the dependent variable. So when we go for bucketing, we might lose that information when we group them together. So that is why we identified that let's do target encoding. Let's take the information that is present in the target and have that represented in your problematic column. The second approach was, it's a simple approach. Let's take the frequencies. And the third approach was, let's convert those categories into numbers, then those decimal numbers into its binary equivalent, and then from the binary equivalent, let's take the bits. Okay, each bit will be represented as a new column. Okay, so these are three approaches that I have shown you. Okay, I hope this is helpful, guys. Any questions? So I'll have the recordings available. It will be available on the YouTube channel. Feel free to share it with any of your friends. Okay. Yeah. So any questions? And I'll also have the codes. I'll put the codes on. So I'll have a GitHub profile for My Data Cafe, and I will put up the codes on My Data Cafe GitHub profile. You can download the codes from there, and the PPT as well. And the recordings of the videos will be available on our YouTube channel.